Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the Terra Nova. He was looking out at the strange, colorful clouds in space around the HFY system. His ship was exploring this unknown part of space with 32 crew members. Jake touched his dark hair, something he always did when he was thinking hard. He had been exploring space for 15 years. "Captain, something weird is happening," said Lieutenant Ben Hayes from his computer station. Ben was young and his voice sounded worried. This made Jake pay attention right away. Dr. Lisa Kane was the ship's doctor and alien expert. She looked up from her work. Her red hair was tied back and her green eyes were very smart. She was one of Earth's best doctors for treating aliens. "What kind of weird stuff, Ben?" Jake asked as he walked over to look at Ben's computer. "Strange energy signals that we don't know about. They seem dangerous, sir. Like a hunting animal." Sam Chen was the ship's pilot. He was a quiet man in his 30s. He looked up from his controls. "Captain, we're getting an urgent message from Galactic Command. They say it's very important." Jake nodded. "Show me." A blue light appeared in the air and showed Admiral Patricia Ross. She looked very serious and worried. "Captain Morrison, you must stop exploring the HFY system right now. That area is home to the Void Stalkers. They are the most dangerous hunters in the whole galaxy. No ship that has met them has ever come back in one piece." Dr. Kane stepped closer. "Admiral, what are these Void Stalkers?" "They are like monsters from bad dreams, Doctor. They are huge, smart, and they kill without mercy. For more than 300 years, they have been the nightmare of space travel. Their ships appear from nowhere and they never show kindness. The Galactic Council says no one should go there ever." Jake felt scared, but he was also curious. "Admiral, if they are so dangerous, why hasn't anyone tried to talk to them peacefully?" Admiral Ross laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. "Talk peacefully? Captain, these creatures only understand violence. They have destroyed whole fleets of ships. The only reason we know about them is because a few escape pods got away from their attacks." Before Jake could say anything, loud warning sounds started all over the ship. Ben's voice was loud over the noise. "Captain, something huge is coming toward us very fast. It's really big, sir." Through the window, they saw a ship come out of the colorful space clouds. It was different from any ship Jake had ever seen. It looked like it was alive with smooth curves like flowing water. The ship was 3 times bigger than the Terra Nova, and it moved like a hunting cat. "That's a Void Stalker ship," Admiral Ross whispered through the communication. "God help you all." The alien ship suddenly jerked to one side. Bright sparks were shooting out from different parts of it. The ship was clearly broken and having trouble flying straight. "Captain," Dr. Kane said quietly, "that ship is hurt and needs help." Jake stared at the damaged ship. His mind was thinking fast. All the rules said he should run away. But something deep inside him, something that made him human, told him to help. "Admiral, I'm going to help that ship." "Captain Morrison, that's crazy. You don't know what you're getting into." Jake turned to look at his crew. He could see they were scared, but they also trusted him. These people had followed him through dangerous asteroid fields and deadly space storms. They believed in him. "Sam, fly us next to their ship. Ben, check if anyone is alive in there. Lisa, get the medical room ready for hurt people." "Jake," Dr. Kane said softly, using his first name like she did when they were alone. "Are you really sure about this?" He looked into her eyes and saw that she was worried but also understood him. Lisa knew him better than anyone on the ship. She knew that Jake could never walk away from someone who was suffering, no matter who or what they were. "I'm sure. If we're going to be the first humans to meet these beings, let's do it the right way." The space around them felt heavy with danger. Jake's crew moved quickly to follow his orders, even though they were all afraid. The Terra Nova slowly moved closer to the giant alien ship. Through the windows, they could see the strange metal that seemed to breathe like skin. Small lights pulsed along the ship's surface like a heartbeat. "Life signs detected," Ben reported, his hands shaking slightly as he read his instruments. "There's definitely someone alive in there, Captain, but the readings are like nothing I've seen before." Dr. Kane gathered her medical supplies. "Whatever's in there, it's hurt badly. If we don't help soon, they might die." Jake took a deep breath. He was about to make a choice that would change everything. No human had ever helped a Void Stalker before. Most people in the galaxy would say he was crazy, but Jake believed that every living thing deserved a chance. "All right, people," he said to his crew. "We're going to do something that's never been done before. We're going to save a Void Stalker's life." The alien ship's surface began to change as they got closer. It was like the metal was alive and could think. Parts of it moved to create a perfect doorway that matched their ship's entrance. It was amazing and scary at the same time. Admiral Ross's voice crackled through the communication one last time. "Captain Morrison, I'm ordering you to retreat immediately. This is madness." Jake looked at the alien ship, then at his crew, then back out at the vast emptiness of space. "Admiral, with respect, sometimes doing the right thing looks like madness to everyone else." He cut the communication and turned to his team. "Ben, Danny, Lisa, you're with me. We're going aboard that ship." As they prepared their spacesuits and equipment, Jake felt the weight of the moment. He was about to become the first human to step foot on a Void Stalker vessel. He had no idea what they would find inside, but he knew one thing for certain. They were going to help whoever was in there, no matter what it cost them. Getting their ship connected to the alien vessel was like nothing Jake had ever done before. The Void Stalker ship's metal skin seemed to move and change to match their ship's door perfectly. It was like the ship was alive and thinking. Jake, Dr. Kane, and Security Chief Danny Walsh put on their spacesuits and entered the alien ship. Inside, the walls glowed with soft lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. The corridors curved in strange ways, and the air smelled like metal and electricity. "After a storm. Someone is definitely alive in here, Captain," Dr. Kane said, looking at her scanner, "and they're hurt badly." They followed the scanner readings deeper into the ship. Their footsteps made weird, echoing sounds in the curved hallways. Finally, they reached what looked like the control room. In the middle of the room lay a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. The being looked somewhat like a human but was almost 8 feet tall. Its skin was deep black like space with bright silver patterns that glowed and moved across its body. It had 4 arms, each ending in hands with 6 fingers that had sharp claws. Its head was long, and it had big, complex eyes that showed pain and tiredness. "Holy stars," Danny whispered, automatically raising his weapon. "Put that down," Jake said quietly. He walked slowly toward the creature with his hands empty and visible. The being's eyes followed him, showing intelligence despite being hurt. Dr. Kane came forward with her medical scanner. "Captain, it's really badly injured. Internal bleeding and bad burns on its left side. If we don't help quickly..." Suddenly, the creature spoke. Its voice was musical and strange, but the words were clear. "Why do you not run away? Your kind. They are afraid of us." Jake knelt down next to the wounded being and looked directly into its eyes. "Because you're hurt, and that's what matters right now." The creature's eyes opened wide with surprise. "I am Zexathera of the Deep Current tribe. You are... human?" "I'm Captain Jake Morrison. This is Dr. Lisa Kane and Security Chief Danny Walsh. Can we help you?" Zexathera tried to sit up but winced with pain. "Help? But we are... enemies? My people. And your people. Our people have never actually met," Jake said gently. "We've only heard stories about each other." Dr. Kane was already opening her medical bag. "Captain, I need to take him to our medical room. He's hurt very badly." Zexathera looked confused as he stared at them. "You would bring a Void Stalker onto your ship? Your crew will not like this." Jake smiled. "Let me worry about my crew. Right now you need a doctor." Bringing Zexathera back to the Terra Nova was difficult. Many crew members were scared and worried as they watched the huge alien being carried to the medical room. Jake understood their fear, but he could see something special in Zexathera's eyes. He was very smart and grateful. Over the next few days, Dr. Kane worked hard to heal Zexathera's injuries. Jake spent many hours in the medical room talking with their unexpected guest. He learned that Zexathara's people were not the mindless monsters described in space legends. They were actually a complex society, with art, philosophy, and deep feelings. "Your people call us void stalkers," Zexathara explained one day, his voice much stronger now. "But we call ourselves the Kethmaran, the children of the deep current. We have been protecting our territory for hundreds of years." "Protecting it from what?" Jake asked. "From those who want to steal from our worlds, who think our space is empty because we don't build cities like others do. We tried talking first, but when words didn't work, we had to fight." Jake felt a cold understanding. "You were protecting your homes." "Yes. But in doing this, we became the monsters that others feared. It's like a circle that never ends." "Doctor," Kane looked up from her medical readings. "Jake, his body is amazing. Those glowing patterns aren't just decoration. They're how he communicates. His whole nervous system can work alone or connect with others." Zexathara's patterns flickered, and what Jake was learning meant amusement. "Dr. Kane understands much. Your species, if you see past what things look like, this is rare in the galaxy." As the days went by, something amazing happened. Jake started to really enjoy Zexathara's company. The Void Stalker had a funny sense of humor and ideas about the universe that made Jake think differently. When Zexathara was feeling better, Jake showed him around the Terra Nova. "Your ship," Zexathara said, looking around. "It is built for exploring, not fighting. This tells me much about your people." "What do you mean?" "Others who came to our space before, their ships were made for taking over and controlling. Your ship is made for learning and understanding. The purpose shapes how something is built." Jake had never thought about it that way, but Zexathara was right. Human exploration ships were designed for learning, not conquering. The big test came when space pirates attacked a human research station near Kethvar space. The Terra Nova got the emergency call and immediately headed to help, but they were too far away to get there in time. Zexathara listened to the emergency messages and became very upset. Finally, he turned to Jake. "Captain, my ship is fixed now. I can reach that station." "Zex, you don't owe us anything. You're free to go." Zexathara's glowing patterns became very bright. "Owe you? You don't understand, Jake Morrison. You have shown me friendship, something I thought was impossible between our peoples. Now I want to show you the same." Jake watched through the ship's window as Zexathara's vessel came out of the colorful space clouds like an avenging angel. The pirates ran away immediately when they saw the massive Void Stalker ship, their fear broadcast on all radio channels. When Zexathara came back, his patterns were pulsing with what Jake now knew meant happiness. "Your people are safe, my friend." The word friend hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning that would soon change the entire galaxy. The news spread through the galaxy like fire. A human captain had not only met a Void Stalker and lived, but had become friends with one of the most feared creatures in space. Everyone was talking about it, and most people were scared. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez from the Galactic Council called the Terra Nova just hours after the first reports reached civilized space. She usually stayed calm, but now she looked very worried and upset. "Captain Morrison, you need to understand how big this problem is. The whole Centauri sector is panicking. 3 alien species have already changed their shipping routes to avoid you. The Vegan Consortium is demanding immediate military action." Jake stood in his private office with Zexathara beside him. The Void Stalker had wanted to be present for all talks about their new friendship. "Ambassador, with respect, the only thing I did was treat a hurt person with basic kindness." "Basic kindness?" Ambassador Rodriguez's voice got higher. "Captain, that person represents a species that has terrorized space travel for over 300 years. They have destroyed countless ships and killed thousands of people." Zexathara stepped forward, his glowing patterns changing to show he was speaking officially. "Ambassador Rodriguez, I am Zexathara of the Kethmaran. I speak for my people when I say that every ship we destroyed was in our territory after we warned them to leave." The ambassador stared at the screen in shock. You can talk?" "We have always been able to talk, Ambassador. The question is whether anyone wanted to listen." Dr. Kane entered the office, carrying notes from her research. "Ambassador, I've been studying Void Stalker culture and biology. They're not the monsters we thought they were. They're actually very smart and civilized. Dr. Kane, I don't care if they write beautiful poetry. The galactic community sees them as a deadly threat. Jake felt angry. The galactic community made decisions based on fear and wrong information. Maybe it's time we started making choices based on real facts. Things got worse quickly over the next few weeks. Other ships stayed far away from the Terra Nova when it visited space stations. Several alien species filed official complaints with the Galactic Council. The Andromedan Trade Federation even put a reward on Zexathara's head for anyone who could capture or kill him. But something unexpected started happening too. Attacks on human ships in the outer space territories stopped completely. Trade routes that had been dangerous for decades became safe overnight. Space pirates found themselves facing not just human security forces, but also the scary possibility of Void Stalker protection. Captain Nina Foster of the cargo ship New Horizon was one of the first to see this protection. Her ship was carrying medical supplies to a colony world when pirates attacked. She later told Earth Command about watching in amazement as a Void Stalker ship appeared from nowhere and scared off the attackers without firing a single shot. They just protected us, she reported, like guardians. I never thought I'd feel safe seeing one of those ships, but I did. The Galactic Council finally demanded that Jake come to their headquarters on Terminus Prime. The order was official and had the force of law. Jake knew he had no choice but to go, but he also knew he wouldn't be going alone. I will come with you, Zexathara announced when Jake got the summons. Zex, that might not be a good idea. People are already very angry. Zexathara's patterns flickered with determination. Captain, Jake, you stood by me when I was hurt and helpless. Now I will stand by you when you face judgment. This is what friends do. The trip to Terminus Prime on the Terra Nova was tense. Jake's crew was nervous about entering the center of galactic civilization with a Void Stalker on board, but they stayed loyal to their captain. Dr. Kane spent most of the journey working on her complete report about Keth Marin biology and culture. You know, she said to Jake as they got close to Terminus Prime. In all my years studying aliens, I've never met a species that can be both fierce protectors and gentle friends. They're not predators like we thought. They're guardians. Jake nodded, watching Zexathara talk with some of the younger crew members. The huge alien was teaching Lieutenant Hayes about Keth Marin space navigation, his patterns bright with excitement. The galaxy is about to learn something new about both our species, Jake said quietly. Terminus Prime was an amazing space station that served as the center of galactic government. As the Terra Nova approached the docking area, Jake could see the heavy security waiting for them. At least 12 different alien species were in the welcoming group, and none of them looked happy. Captain Morrison, came the formal greeting from Station Commander Vex, a tall, bug-like being from the Proxima system. You must surrender your companion immediately when you dock. Zexathara's patterns flared with anger, but Jake put a calming hand on his friend's arm. Commander Vex, Zexathara is here as my guest and ally. He will be treated with proper respect. Captain, you seem to misunderstand your situation. You are not in a position to make demands. Jake's voice became hard, like steel. Commander, if the Galactic Council wants to hear what I have to say, they'll treat both of us with proper diplomatic courtesy. Otherwise, we can turn around and leave right now. The standoff lasted several long minutes before Commander Vex reluctantly agreed. Jake and Zexathara left their ship together, surrounded by guards that looked more like an arrest team than an honor guard. As they walked through the hallways of Terminus Prime, Jake noticed something interesting. While the official welcome was hostile, many of the individual beings they passed looked at Zexathara with curiosity rather than fear. Some even seemed fascinated by his glowing patterns. Your people's reputation comes before you, Jake whispered to his friend. Zexathara's patterns showed wry amusement. As does yours, Jake Morrison. Word of the human who befriends monsters has spread farther than you know. The council chamber was huge, designed to hold representatives from dozens of different species. Jake and Zexathara stood in the center of the round room, surrounded by beings of every imaginable shape and size. The atmosphere was charged with tension and barely controlled hostility. High Chancellor Crix, an ancient being from the Vegan system, called the meeting to order. We are here to address the unprecedented and potentially catastrophic alliance formed between human Captain Jake Morrison and the creature known as Zexthara, of the species we call Void Stalkers. Jake stepped forward. High Chancellor, members of the Council, I request permission to present evidence that will change how you view the Kethmaran people. A wave of whispers swept through the chamber when Jake used the aliens' real name for themselves. You may proceed, Captain Morrison, but be warned that this council's patience is limited. What happened next would be the most important presentation in galactic history. Jake began with Dr. Kane's complete research about the Kethmaran, sending it to all the council's computer screens. The information was clear and undeniable. These beings were not the mindless monsters of galactic stories, but a smart species with complex social systems, advanced technology, and deep philosophical traditions. Honorable council members, Jake said, his voice carrying clearly through the huge chamber. For 300 years, we have feared the Kethmaran based on incomplete information and misunderstanding. Yes, they have destroyed ships that entered their territory, but only after those ships ignored clear warnings and boundary markers. Representative Quill of the Andromedan Trade Federation stood up, his crystal-like body shaking with anger. Captain Morrison, are you seriously defending the actions of these creatures? They have cost the galactic economy billions of credits. Zexthara stepped forward, his glowing patterns shifting to show formal communication. When he spoke, his voice carried dignity and authority that commanded attention. Representative Quill, your Trade Federation's ships carried strip mining equipment into our sacred spawning grounds. Your corporations wanted to harvest the bioluminescent algae that our young need for their first transformation. When we asked you to stop, you sent warships instead of diplomats. The chamber erupted in surprised whispers. High Chancellor Crix called for order. Dr. Kane's voice came through the communication system from the Terra Nova, where she was watching the proceedings. Council members, I've discovered something amazing about Kethmaran reproduction. They don't lay eggs on planets like most species. They need specific stellar nurseries in deep space, areas rich in certain types of cosmic radiation and organic compounds. Many of the empty systems that various species have tried to exploit are actually Kethmaran nurseries. Jake seized on this revelation. We've been accidentally threatening their children. Is it any wonder they responded with force? Ambassador. Rodriguez looked shaken. But the attacks on civilian vessels. Zexthara's pattern showed what Jake now recognized as deep sadness. Every ship we destroyed carried weapons, Ambassador. We listened to their communications. They came not for trade or exploration, but for conquest. We defended ourselves as any parent protects their young. Representative Valtar of the Centauri Union, a being Jake had always respected for his fairness, stood slowly. If this is true, then we have been the aggressors in this conflict. More than that, Jake said, pulling up a star chart. Look at the shipping routes that have been established around Kethmaran space. We've been systematically moving into their territory for decades, pushing them further and further into the deep void. They're not expanding their range. We're shrinking it. The evidence was overwhelming, but Jake knew that facts alone wouldn't be enough to change 3 centuries of fear and mistrust. He needed to show the Council something more. High Chancellor, I request permission to demonstrate the true nature of human-Kethmaran relations. Before anyone could object, Jake did something that made the entire Council gasp in horror. He drew a knife from his belt and cut across his palm deep enough to draw blood. Captain! Dr. Kane's voice crackled through the comm system, but Jake wasn't in danger. Zexthara immediately moved to his side, and the Council watched in amazement as the Void Stalker gently took Jake's wounded hand in his own. The alien's glowing patterns shifted to a warm, healing light, and where they touched Jake's wound, the bleeding stopped, and the cut began to close. This is how the Kethmaran treat their friends, Jake said quietly. With healing, not harm. The demonstration sent shockwaves through the Council. Several representatives were openly staring, and Jake could see the exact moment when fear began to transform into wonder. Representative Quill was the first to speak. The healing properties. Our medical research divisions would pay substantial sums for access to such technology. Zexthera's patterns flickered with amusement. Representative Quill, we do not sell our gifts, but we might share them with those who approach us as friends rather than conquerors. High Chancellor Crix leaned forward in his seat. Zexthera of the Kethmaran, what would your people require for peaceful coexistence with the galactic community? Recognition of our territorial boundaries, respect for our nursery systems, and most importantly, an end to the fear-driven assumptions that have defined our relationship with other species. Jake stepped forward. I propose the establishment of the first formal diplomatic relations between humanity and the Kethmaran to serve as a model for other species. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some council members remained skeptical, others were openly hostile, but a growing number began to see the possibilities in Jake's proposal. The turning point came when Captain Foster's testimony was presented to the council, along with recordings from dozens of other human vessels that had been protected by Kethmaran ships in recent weeks. They're not attacking anymore, Representative Valtar observed. Ever since Captain Morrison made contact, the attacks have stopped completely. Ambassador Rodriguez was studying her datapad carefully. Actually, our shipping losses in the Outer Rim territories have decreased by 73% since this alliance began. If anything, trade has become safer. Jake felt a surge of hope. Because the Kethmaran are natural guardians. Once they understood that not all of us were threats, they began protecting instead of attacking. Zexthera's patterns brightened. We have always been protectors, council members. We protect our young, our territory, our way of life. But we would gladly extend that protection to those who respect us. The final vote was closer than Jake had hoped, but it was enough. By a margin of 7 votes, the Galactic Council approved the establishment of formal diplomatic relations with the Kethmaran, with humanity serving as the initial intermediary. As they left the council chambers, Jake felt the weight of history on his shoulders. They had just changed the course of galactic civilization. So what happens now? He asked Zexthera as they walked back to the Terra Nova. The Void Stalker's patterns shifted to a configuration Jake had never seen before, one that seemed to radiate joy and anticipation. Now, my friend, we build bridges where once there were only walls. My people have much to learn from yours, and I suspect the reverse is also true. 6 months later, the first joint human Kethmaran exploration mission launched from Earth. The crew included both species working side by side, sharing knowledge and perspectives. Trade agreements followed, then cultural exchanges, and eventually, friendships that spanned the stars. Jake remained captain of the Terra Nova, but his mission had evolved. He and his crew, along with Zexthera and several other Kethmaran, became the galaxy's first interspecies diplomatic team. They traveled from system to system, helping other species overcome their fears and prejudices, making first contacts that might have otherwise ended in violence. Dr. Kane's research into Kethmaran biology led to medical breakthroughs that helped dozens of species. The healing techniques that Zexthera had demonstrated became the foundation for new treatments that saved countless lives across the galaxy. But perhaps the most significant change was in how the galaxy viewed humanity itself. The species that had befriended the universe's most feared predators gained a reputation for unique diplomatic skills and an almost supernatural ability to find common ground with hostile aliens. You know, Dr. Kane said to Jake one evening as they watched a mixed crew of humans and Kethmaran working together on the bridge. I think we've discovered something important about ourselves as a species. What's that? We're bridge builders. We see past the surface to find the person underneath. Jake smiled, watching as Lieutenant Hayes and a young Kethmaran named Rexdara worked together on a navigation problem, their different perspectives, combining to find a solution neither could have reached alone. Maybe that's our real role in the galaxy, he said thoughtfully. Not to conquer or even just to explore, but to connect. to find the friendship hiding inside every first contact. Zexathera approached them, his patterns warm and content. Jake Morrison, I have received word from the Deep Current Council. They wish to formally invite humanity to establish an embassy in our space. Jake grinned. I can't think of anything I'd like more. As the Terra Nova set course for the HFY system, Jake thought about the journey that had brought them to this point. A simple act of compassion toward a wounded stranger had reshaped galactic politics and opened doors to possibilities no one had imagined. The human who had shocked the galaxy by befriending its deadliest predator had taught the universe something profound. That friendship could bloom in the most unlikely places, and that sometimes the most fearsome monsters were simply misunderstood souls waiting for someone brave enough to extend a hand in friendship.